Hello, hello out there. Welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza. And thank you, as always, for tuning in and joining me here today. I'm laughing inside, and I will be laughing on this live stream because it occurs to me how funny it is that when we show up and we teach in the world, now this is true no matter what you do for a living, right? This is true whether you hold yourself out as a teacher of any kind, spirituality or anything else. We, when we teach, repeat ourselves over and over and over again, don't we? Yeah, we repeat ourselves over and over and over and say things in different ways. And we present concepts in different language on different days and different words to different people because our job is not to know exactly who's going to hear our message on a given day, but simply to deliver the message. And we don't know, nor can we ever know, who is really going to hear it on a given day. And even then, who is going to really benefit from it. And in the context of spirituality, A Course in Miracles here, who's going to take action on that and really go deep on letting their ego go? I mean, who's going to apply the day's lesson? We can never know. Therefore, as the teacher, we show up and repeat ourselves because we owe it to ourselves and to everyone else, because there really is no everyone else, right? We owe it to every living thing to simply show up and deliver the message. So I'm laughing about that today because I'm fully cognizant of showing up and teaching and having said the exact same thing in very different ways on different days for as long as this live stream has been running, which is since January of this year. So it's very, very, very interesting on that. And that is just the way I'm, inspired to start off this live stream. So we're going to launch into a very special and very interesting idea in the workbook for students in just a moment. But while we do that, welcome. And as always, please feel welcome to say hello. Pop into the comment thread and let me know where you're joining me from. If you want to do that, that's great. If you're on the replay, same thing, no problem. And if you have questions or comments, please feel welcome to leave those questions and comments right here. This is one of the things that I aim to do, and one of my functions as a teacher and a guide and a coach, and whatever label one wishes to put on this function. It's to create a safe space for you to go deep and ask the deeper questions, all right? There's no such thing as a ridiculous or a dumb or a stupid or a bad question, because I know, and I know that we all know, that there's somebody out there in the world that needs to hear exactly what's on your mind. If you share your heart and mind on a given day, there's no telling the extent of your sharing. You never know who you're going to touch. So I do say this, I've said this was one of the things that's on repeat in my mind, like a skipping disc. Yeah. I'm almost 50. So back in my childhood days, we would say a broken record, vinyl. I know a lot of you still have your vinyl collection, right? I gave mine to my son. He listens to it a lot. It's cool. So I want to make sure that if you've got a question, that you recognize that this is a dedicated and a safe space for you to ask that. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And there might be somebody on the other end of the world who is wondering the same thing. You could absolutely make their day without your ever knowing that. because they may never contact you to tell you this, you could absolutely even go so far as to change the entire trajectory of someone else's life, which is a pretty beautiful proposition there, isn't it? So ask the questions if you've got them. And as always, thank you for the likes, the hearts, and the shares of this page. So let's launch right into it here. And I'm scrolling through the Facebook feed for EWN to find out if Restream is actually even working. And it does look like I'm live. So sometimes it takes a moment to bring up. What I'm aiming to do here, as I keep looking down at my telephone, I know, right, is bring up the stream so that I can see who's on with me live here and say hello to all of you after I deliver a few remarks and some thoughts from my own understanding and my own experience with lesson 165 in the workbook. Let not my mind deny the thought of God. All right. Let not my mind deny the thought of God. So as you may know, there's some biblical sounding language interspersed all nice and deliberately throughout A Course in Miracles. There's no mistake that the course was dictated to a couple of PhDs at Columbia University in New York City, starting in the 1960s, 20th century. Yeah, no accident there. So as I bring up the comment thread here, guys, it's very, very interesting. Let not my mind deny the thought of God. So another more succinct and bottom line way of saying this is, let not my mind deny myself. So two words on myself, my, and then self with a capital S. Let me not get carried away in psychodrama and remain ignorant of who I am. It's another way of saying the same thing. Let not my mind get carried away by trinkets and my Twitter feed and shiny objects and forget why I'm here. Let not my mind get carried away in all of my thoughts of darkness and, well, death, despair, depression, yeah, all of the grudges that I'm holding, all of my desire to hide out and not face life. Let not my mind carry me away from who I really am. So multiple different ways of saying the same thing. You are, I am, we are the thought of God, not a body, mind you, who we really are. The ideas, if you're not familiar with A Course in Miracles, the ideas can seem very radical. Now, the more you study the Course, actually, the more radical they can seem even then. There are many reasons why in my own practice, I have been through the workbook more than once. There are many reasons why I have been through the manual for teachers and the text of A Course in Miracles more than once. Every time, it's like watching a movie or reading a novel. Every time you come back to it, you learn something else. You notice something else. Why? Well, the words are actually the same. You're not the same. You're seeing things with different eyes. You're hearing things with different ears. Your heart is hopefully more open than it was the time before. And you go forward from there. So there's a very, very important idea in A Course in Miracles that, again, I've mentioned on the live stream. I'm going to mention it again a couple of times at least. And that is the idea that ideas leave not their source, okay? Ideas leave not their source. That is a bit of an abstract way of putting it in words, but here's what's meant by that. We are as we were created. We can't be anything else. All right. The thought of God is the thought of God, not a separately existing human entity, even though that's quite clearly the way we appear, isn't it? We're drawn to spiritual practice. You're drawn to spiritual practice because you recognize something else. There is a deep sense of disaffection and dissatisfaction in the world, isn't there? We run around chasing after shiny objects. When we get them, we're still unhappy. It's not enough. We're running around chasing after the next shiny object. On the opposite side of that, we could just drift and float and have no direction at all and not necessarily be chasing after a shiny object, but not sure where we're going, nor what we're looking to do here. It's okay not to know, isn't it? It's okay not to know and be in a place where you're confused. This is where we ask our teacher for help. It is, isn't it? It's where you ask for assistance. So whoever your guide or guides are, ask for assistance if you don't know which way to go. Do that and you will get an answer. Now, are you going to get it right away? Maybe not, right? Maybe not. It might come in a different form than you're looking for, but you can trust that you will receive the answer. So our job in this situation is to open ourselves to receiving that answer and not block it thinking we know best, right? Not block it thinking our separate ego mind knows better than the source of all life. Because we all know that it does not. It would like to think that it does, and it in fact insists that it does. So the thought of God, right? We are the thought of God. God created us. We have left not our source, okay? Ideas leave not their source. Capital S if you want to, yeah? Ideas leave not their source. We have not left our source. This may seem like a highly radical and implausible, impractical, and wrong idea to you. Why does it resonate? This is a question for self-reflection for all of us. Why does that resonate? If it's so wrong, why do you keep coming back to it? Why does it spark something inside you? Something ancient, perhaps, something very deep and profound. Why does it stir and move you? These are questions that we have the opportunity to ask ourselves along the path. They can be very discomforting, can't they? They can be very challenging. This is why we have guides along the way, human and non-human. So you may have a team of guides. I know a number of you do. You may have one guide, or you may have a human teacher, which is very, very interesting and always a profoundly beautiful relationship to be in, to have a human teacher, whether it's for a period of time or an entire lifetime. Very cool, very, very interesting. But there are all kinds of teachers out there. And coming back to the theme at the outset of total repetition, we're all teaching the same thing. And in practicing lesson 165, we're stating the intention, we're stating our will to get out of our own way, to not allow ourselves to remain preoccupied, as we have been for countless lifetimes, on psychodrama and trivia. Because it's not who we are, and we all know, because we all recognize that it's not worthy of us. It's not worthy of the thought of God, well, Son of God, if you prefer, yeah, or daughter, or yeah, thought of God. Ideas leave not their source. We've never left our source. We cannot leave our source. It's said in A Course in Miracles and many other spiritual traditions in this world that all of this is a dream, an illusion. All of the worldly experience is a dream and an illusion. And the truth is that we have not left our source. So what we find ourselves doing is gradually, for most of us, gradually, right, piece by piece, one step at a time, waking back up to the reality that is and always has been and always will be. It's outside of time. It's outside of the artificial constructs of space and time, which we have imposed on ourselves. Why would we do this to ourselves? Well, let's be easy on ourselves. Confusion, right? The fundamental confusion and ignorance. And it just reinforces itself to the point where we become thoroughly confused. Many of us become depressed, right? Maybe people become violent or suicidal. There are all kinds of possibilities that result from this continual spinning. So what we're saying today is let's get out of that, because we can, and the means are right there, but for the asking. All right. It says right here in the commentary on lesson 165 that heaven is yours, but for the asking. So ask, and you most certainly, definitely shall receive. All right, so as I was scrolling the Facebook feed a few minutes ago, I noticed that the streaming app, Restream, that we use here on this live is not streaming to Facebook. So leave your comments at a later date here. And if you're catching this, this will be on YouTube here on Enlightened World Network. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. I'm Tomas Garza, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow. Have a great day.